Welcome, everybody, into See Ball, Get Ball, the podcast you love because it's a big, dumb animal. Me, David Pollack, your host, a doctor, a smart guy, Brent Rollins, who works for PFF with all the numbers and the gurus. And the offseason, man, is cool, Brent. I really do. I've been surprised. We've never really done an offseason stuff, but there's always something in college football to talk about, especially with all the transfer portal and commitments and players that decide and jockeying for television, playoff expansion. Like, we've had plenty to talk about. What are we getting into today, brother?
There's the kickoff times. Those were kind of the week one. It's such a big week that we're going to look at that. Number one recruit in the country committed yesterday. And then we'll kind of look at some, there's a lot of change in rosters and teams this year, but kind of what are some known things. But what's interesting is I just want to shout out to anyone who is actually listening to us live tonight, because not only are we competing with the NBA playoffs and the Celtics trying to not be eliminated, and because of the injuries, which, by the way,
no. Do not say because of the injuries. They're getting eliminated because the Knicks has kicked them in the face and been the better team, especially in the second half, especially in the clutch moments, and they got the best player on the floor. So don't give me the injury stuff. That's not a part of it.
I was mainly getting to the injuries because does it shock you that, hey, they kind of go on cruise control for all its season, and then the intensity gets dialed up like crazy, and then all of a sudden they're having these, Achilles and hamstring and ankle and all these issues? Like, it's not shocking, and it's happening year after year now.
Well, I've watched the NBA playoffs every year, Brent. I'm a diehard. Like, I love the NBA. I think it's the most fun sport to watch. But, dude, this is the most physical I've seen them let the guys play. Like, they are all over each other, hands all over them. And I've enjoyed it. I think it's been fun to watch. And the Celtics are getting bullied. And Jalen Brunson at 6 foot, whatever, 6'1", maybe. Not hyper athletic. To watch him dominate NBA games is unbelievable. Like, AI, man, when he was that size, AI, ridiculous crossover, unbelievable athletic ability. Jalen Brunson just has a feel for the game. He's a bully. His footwork is elite, and just proving himself to be proven to be one of the best players in the NBA. And the Mavericks, not surprisingly, let him go, and that doesn't make any sense. But
by the way, were you shocked? Were you shocked that Cooper Flight, that the Mavericks got the lottery?
Are you one of those NBA rigged conspiracy theory guys?
Conspiracy? No, I know it can't be possible, but there's mounting evidence of things that just make it seem that way. But no, I know I've read and listened to all the reports of how that's done and all the things that go with it. But no, it's just anyway, blind luck. But
all right,
and we're also competing. We're also competing with the NFL schedule releases and all these. I don't know if you watch the videos on social media of all the people releasing the schedule. The best one will be the Tennessee Titans one that they did, where they had some girl on Broadway trying to pick out who the teams were, and she said like the Red Hawks for the Falcons or something like that. But anyway,
listen, the Falcons have been a while since they've been relevant, so I get it.
Yeah. Kickoff times, we actually have them for week one now. And I did look last year at the high school football schedule, and there was no game that weekend. So you might get, I don't know if it's the same way this year. I haven't looked or haven't seen it. So you might get lucky again and get to watch college football weekend in that first week, or that Friday night at least, because so Thursday night you got Boise at USF, Nebraska versus Cincinnati and Kansas City. And then you got Georgia Tech at Colorado, 8:00 on Friday night. But the big one was the Saturday slate and how they divvied it up. And the one that I was actually shocked is Fox put Texas, Ohio State as a big noon game, big noon kickoff. So you've got Texas, Ohio State, and then Syracuse, Tennessee at noon. Were you shocked that they made that the noon kickoff game versus being a primetime game?
I mean, it doesn't make sense, but the Big Ten scheduling, like the Big Ten prohibits this too, though. Like they don't let their teams do night games during the season. They don't do primetime night games, right? Like they haven't done that. That's the dumbest thing I've heard ever. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand that. And it's a thing. It's a real thing. That's not like I'm making that up. That's a real thing. And it's surprising.
Yeah, that might be number one versus number two preseason at noon on Saturday, and then 3:30 Bama at FSU, and then the Battle of Death Valley at night 7:30 LSU
all in
at Clemson. Hashtag all in.
Hashtag all in for the hey. So what I saw with the schedule release for week 1, man, is SEC, ACC. That's what I see, man. Like, I mean, you're going to learn a lot about the conference matchups, like Virginia Tech versus USC. Obviously, you've got Beamer going back home, like or going against his old squad. They're hosting, but like, obviously, that's an ACC SEC showdown. You got Georgia Tech, Colorado, which I really, really like. I think that will be fun. The one you talked about on a Friday night. Last year, Georgia Tech in the one spot, in the week 1 spot, did pretty good. Like they shot the
Ireland
world.
game or something like that, right? Yeah, week 0.
Yeah, it was pretty
they
solid.
Were in Ireland.
Pretty solid. They broke Florida State, literally broke them for the year. I think that will be fun. But the ACC showdowns, like I talked about, Virginia Tech, USC, Bama, FSU. Like, I don't know about that one. Like,
it's a big unknown, which, by the way, leads into what we're going to talk about later, kind of thing.
Okay, so I'll save it then. I'll save my thoughts on that game. But obviously, SEC, ACC, and then you got Syracuse and Tennessee coming up that you're going to talk about too with the slate. Like, that's a lot of. I love the cross conference. I would wish to have a little bit more from SEC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, AC. Like, if we intermingled more again with the scheduling, I think it would help us in the end of the year.
Yeah. And so the other night games, so Sunday night you get Notre Dame at Miami, and then Monday night you get TCU at Chapel Hill. Maybe, because there's those that report that he might not make it to week 1, but
he'll make it.
He'll be there.
Notre Dame at Miami is pretty dope too, though. Like that's pretty. That's pretty. And fun, by the way, pretty fun game. So.
Miami's going to come up a little bit later in my things I know about college. I think I know about college football this season, but recruiting actually kind of was front and center this week because at least Rivals' number 1 prospect, Jackson Cantwell, offensive tackle out of Missouri, Nixa, Missouri, I think is what it is. And by the way, his dad was like a former Olympic shot putter, maybe something like that, but he is like huge. Like,
6'8", 300 pounds.
Well, that's the kid, but the dad is
correct.
Just as ripped up and looks like he pushed you into pretzel too. But he picks Miami, and there was some numbers thrown out there in terms of anywhere from $2 million, all sorts of things as it relates to the money per season, that kind of thing. Were you surprised by the choice? Because I personally was not.
I wasn't surprised when I heard the number. I think when the number came out, I wasn't surprised. And here's the thing. If you want to talk about this in any way, shape, or form outside of this being a business, and I'm not knocking Cantwell. That is his absolute right to maximize what he's got, and his family's right. So don't take this as I'm knocking the kid. But when the kid says it's about development and it's about working with so-and-so and so-and-so, no, it's not. It's about $2 million. And, here's what you're seeing a lot in college football. And by the way, I talked to 4 college coaches today. I mean, from different schools. And just here's what you're seeing a lot of. Like, you're seeing a lot of spending right now going on because in July, that salary cap will hit. And in July, after that hits, there's going to be punishments. Like, when you overspend, you are going to get slapped. And I hope they slap the absolute fire out of people. I hope it's a backhand like you see on X when they show those slapping competitions and you just sit there and you eat it. Like, I hope it's like that. I hope it's a Cantwell Joker at 6'8", 300 slapping people across the grill for cheating. Like, I'm all for that. So I think, talking to coaches today, from Clemson, from Alabama, from Georgia, you see that, man. Like, you're seeing the spending, and that's something that's happening now. God bless him. He should go get the money. What we don't talk about and what we don't understand, like, unless you play the game or you're intimately involved in it, like, he makes this decision. I hope he gets his money. I hope that's something that he gets all of it and the contract's done correctly, which is not always a guarantee by any stretch at this level. But the problem is where he wants to get to, Jackson Cantwell wants to get to, is a first-round pick. And you go make that life-changing money. And that he didn't pick the best spot for that. That's what I would argue. Like, I think I want to make – here's the combination that I want to make. I want to make money, yes. I want to go to primetime atmospheres, Brent. I want the best of the best. I want to play – I want to get the most bang for my buck. If I'm a college athlete, I want to play in the top environments in the country. I want to play in big-time playoff games. I want to play against other dudes. I want to get developed and groomed from somebody that has a track record. I'm just telling you me. Like, if I'm making these decisions, like if Nicholas Pollack gets recruited and he's starting to get talks with people and we're starting to talk to coaches, like, I'm just telling you, this is how I would steer Nicholas. Like, this is exactly what I would say to him. Do we love the environment? Is it going to put you in the best position to succeed? That money is good, but that's not the most important thing. And I'm just saying that's something that's hard to look past as a recruit. So that's where I'd say I'm a little bit shocked, because I think he could have gotten good money to go somewhere else and maybe had a better chance to develop and turn into probably that life-changing number one pick, first top 10 type of a pick.
Well, in terms of the where part, though, the unique part of him choosing Miami is Miami has a returning left tackle this year in Francis Maui Noah, I think is how you say it. I might have screwed that up. I'm sorry if I did.
You did great. You did fantastic.
He was the 17th overall recruit in 2023. He started from minute one as a freshman and will be a 3-year starter. And if you look at any sort of early mock drafts, he is a first round pick type player. So I don't like, if I'm Mario Cristobal, I can tell the kid, look, that's your path. As soon as he goes to the draft, there's your spot. You come in, you enroll spring, rep one, you are left tackle one or right tackle one. And go have at it. But here's the thing that with that is, just by being a 5-star, at least, from the Rivals rankings, offensive tackle, the likelihood of you getting drafted in the first 2 rounds, Davey, I tweeted out the other day, it was since 2014, so the last decade, there's 29 draft eligible offensive tackles. 25 of them were drafted, and 21 of them were drafted in the top 2 rounds. 14 were first round picks. So almost 50% were first round picks. So just by being and having that designation, it's there. So in terms of where he wants to go, you get a little more money, that you go start, you go play, fine. But I think the key question with all this, and I was on the radio today with Bill Shanks talking about this, is what's the point of no return, I guess, from a coach perspective, like where one player becomes such a massive part of your expenditure. What's that point? I don't really know.
It dang sure ain't left tackle, homie. Like, it ain't left tackle.
Quarterback is the instant choice.
Quarterback. If you want to spend this much money on a quarterback, we can have the conversation. I'm not spending $2 million on an offensive lineman. Like, I'm just not. An offensive lineman's going to be obviously in the mix, can be great, can control the game. The likelihood of them getting dinged up and hurt is highly possible. Like, you play a physical position up front like that, it's going to happen.
Yep.
Like, it's just going to happen naturally. Quarterbacks obviously have a chance to stay healthier. It's a high investment. It's a high investment in a guy on the offensive line. Obviously, when your line of scrimmage is dominant, it makes life easy for you. I mean, that's a great thing. So, if Miami has the funds and they can do this, I mean, it's always at what cost? It's always like, where is the next spot that now that I have to fill a void, I have to fill a hole. If I watched Miami last year, my God, I'd have spent every dime I had on defense, because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Like a nosebleed. They couldn't stop anybody, and they were awful. Otherwise, they're in the college football playoff hands down. And so, here's what I'll say to that, Brent, what you just said. Miami, since Cristobal's been there, okay? This is since he's been there since 2022 season. They have no draft picks in 2022 on the O-line, no draft picks in 2023, a 7th-round pick in 2024, and a 5th-round pick in 2025. So that's that. That's what you're telling me that I'm going to get developed with, and I'm going to. It's not a knock. It's the numbers. Like it's the facts of. Now listen, I'm not going to give him all of that, because when you start there, obviously it's you're starting from ground zero. You're bringing in your own talent, but because of the transfer portal, you have the opportunity to bring guys in really, really quickly that can play right now, that can go. And their offensive line has not been. Last year it was pretty solid. Like it was, they were physical enough to road grade for the run. They protected Cam Ward. Cam Ward made magic, but those are numbers that are real, Brent. Like those are, Mr. PFF. Those are numbers that they have and that they've accomplished in his tenure so far at Miami.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of debate as well in terms of like just expenditure and how it's divvying up some of the 5 stars. So I went back and looked over the last 5 years or so. You look at pre-NIL, which, by the way, do you remember when NIL actually started in July? So it was July 2021. So the couple classes.
Well, NIL stands for now it's legal, but yes, continue.
Yep. The couple classes before that, there were 16 or 17 different teams that got a 5-star. Now it's 17 or 18. It's not much difference. It's now the teams like Texas A&M all of a sudden got 5 of them one year in 2022, the first year that was really a big deal. But in terms of distribution of 5-star talent, it's still about the same. It's switched a little bit. It's not the Clemson was up there for a while in terms of that. It's not as big of an issue. They're not there as much now, but still yet it's not like I initially thought that NIL would flatten out that element, and you'd have maybe out of 32 5-stars, you'd have
more guys going different places. But it's not. Yeah. It's not necessarily done that to that extent, because so many.
No, but it has spread out the talent. Looking in the portal, because of what they've done in the portal.
Yeah, it has spread out the talent with the portal, but I have a proposal to start ground one. Like, again, I'm seeing all these stuff, and you see all these talks, and like, how do I really fix NIL? I know the number one thing that needs to be changed. Like, if you want to start with something and change college football and make it better for the athlete, the athlete's future and everything about it, we need a rookie salary cap, a coming into a university salary cap. It cannot exceed X. NIL, name, image, and likeness. What you did on the field should dictate how much money you get paid. It should not be what you did in high school. Like, it shouldn't be. Not everybody comes from the same background, same stuff. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But have a rookie cap. Now you can choose the spot that's best for you. And it's not just based on money. Because here's the thing. When you make a decision based on money and not looking towards the future, how many of those decisions, Brent, have you made and you regretted? Like, a lot for me. If I'm making them just on money, I'm blinded. It's harder. I can't make a decision based on what's really best for me. You want to do something that's better for the players? Institute that, and immediately we'll get better.
I mean, think about that. So if you have a rookie cap, and then you add in my rule that I think kids should sign 2-year contracts out of high school, just so they can go through some struggle and learn and try to compete and go through it. I think that you're on your way to a little less chaos.
We just need to do this, Brent. We need to do it for him. Like we just started. We laid the groundwork right there. Let's continue to do it.
Well, I saw Coach Saban on Feinbaum today talking about the commission and his role and some things, and he's got some ideas and things like that. So maybe you need to text Nick and say, "Hey, we've got some for you," or maybe he can just come on the show and talk about them. I mean, that would be good. We can get that done. All right. So there's a lot of questions, like in terms of, we've talked about already how a lot of the big time programs are replacing starting quarterbacks or transfers and movement and player movement like crazy. So I thought I'd actually run through things that I think I know, almost that I would say is fact. And maybe it's not going to be, and I'm going to be really wrong about these, but still, I think there are I wrote down 10 things that I think I know about college football in 2025. So I like this
because I don't know any of them, and I'm just going to co-sign or I'm going to either take a leak on this or I'm going to thumbs up it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
1,000%. So the first one I think is pretty easy. Ohio State has the best individual offensive and defensive player in the country in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. I think I know that is true. Is someone taking that mantle from them? Those two guys.
Okay, Caleb Downs, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He's a baller. I probably could think of other guys that could impact the game possibly more, maybe at a bigger impact position than safety. But what you're saying at his spot, clearly, like he's definitely when EA Sports puts out the video game, Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs are going to be 99s. Like there's not many in the 99 club. Like they're going to be in the high 90s, maybe not 99. Yes. But those two guys will be, they'll be the best two at their position. Jeremiah Smith is just stupid. I mean, he's just unhuman. But it'll be interesting to see him with different quarterback play because I think our homeboy in Alabama, when he gets good quarterback play, Mr. 17-year-old Ryan Williams, like when
now
he gets
18.
Now 18. When he gets good quarterback play, you better watch the flip out, bro, because that's a dude, man. I mean, he is a stud. So. Yes, I'll give you that. I'll go with you on that.
Okay. I don't know if I want to say easiest, but so I'll say lightest. Texas still has the lightest SEC schedule. That's number 2 on my list.
Well, now they got to go to Georgia, which is harder. I mean, that's on the road, one of the toughest atmospheres in all of college football to play. The opener against Ohio State, like,
but I just said SEC schedule, like just in terms of SEC
okay. Game. So only counts in the SEC. Okay, because that opener is legit. Obviously, as it gets.
At Ohio State,
if I was another team in the SEC, any other team in the SEC, I would want Texas SEC schedule. Yes, that last year and this year. And if I'm an Oklahoma fan, I would like to kick anyone at the scheduling committee in the balls that is available, because the fact that you gave me my schedule and you gave Texas's theirs, I would not like that if I was Boomer Sooner.
So they had the whatever pro-am type tournament, golf tournament. That's where Saban was, and Kirby and Sankey was there, and I heard him saw a video where they introduced Kirby and Sankey, and said Greg Sankey, who didn't send Georgia to Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama this season. So he kind of just jokingly off of Kirby's comment last year that they had to play those 3 games on the road. So, all right, number 3, someone from the Big 12 is making the college football playoff. I got no clue who, and the reason I say that is I saw a tweet that the over-unders on win totals. There are 8 teams in the Big 12 with a preseason over-under of 7.5 or 8.5. So basically, the odds makers got no clue either in terms of who's emerging out of that group. But someone's making the playoff from that conference. I don't know if I'd bet anything on any one team individually at this point. It's guesswork because of how kind of even I think that a lot of those teams are.
So because of the AQ status, automatic qualifier, that's the only reason you're saying someone's getting in.
I mean, somebody's going to emerge from that and be 10-2 or 11-1 kind of thing, I think.
Okay.
But it's just who there. It could be any one of 6 teams, I think.
Really? You don't have a front runner?
I mean, I think Arizona State's a front runner, yes, but
you're not. So you don't think Arizona State's going to have a good chance to be able to run through their schedule and be very successful in the Big 12?
I do, but it's still every year. It just the ebbs and flows of that. Arizona State, if I had to put money on one team, it would be them. But you got Texas Tech as fight on ! Natty says that's joining us on YouTube. Like you've got Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, like so many that are in that closeness of that. So I know somebody's getting in from that conference. I just don't know who.
I disagree strongly. I would put all my eggs in the Arizona State basket and feel pretty confident. I mean, I got quarterback, I got coach, I got receiver. I think so many returning guys that had success, and I think they're just getting started. I mean, I think they're about to be the class of the Big 12, and
Okay.
Tyson coming back is a huge part of that to me. Like that dude, they were so good with him, and him not being there, and them still competing like they did. And listen, I know Cam Scadaboo's gone, and he was a dude, but I'm rolling with the pitchforks, bro. Give me the fork. Forks up, brother.
All right. Another one of your hashtags that we got to keep in mind there. Number 4, Oklahoma will be light years better on offense. I know that would be the case.
A blind squirrel could have made that call. I mean, listen, we talked about this. We talked about this months ago. I think Oklahoma is going to be so improved. I mean, across the board with bringing in the right guys. I think where they needed it the most. The system change, obviously the offensive coordinator change. The defense is still being controlled by Venables. I think they're light years better. They're going to be way more competitive. They're not going to be a cakewalk, and it's still going to be so difficult because of their schedules. So Oklahoma's going to be great. They're not going to win 10 games, but they're going to have a team that's good enough to be in that conversation to win 10 games.
All right. So next, the rest of them are ones that are you might have some disagreement with. The most pressure in the sport resides in valleys. Happy and Death Valley. I think Brian Kelly and James Franklin, in terms of pressure on jobs and teams to have a banner type season, I think the most pressure is in those two places.
You don't think Kalen DeBoer has a little bit of pressure on him? Things go sideways.
Now, if it goes really sideways, yes, but I mean, that's okay. Good counterpoint to my point. Good job by you.
I think that fan base, that lineage of success, recent success with Saban, man, I think another year not going to the playoff, like I think you're in trouble. I think things start to change for the next season. The negativity would swirl, and it would be a totally different outlook. James Franklin didn't earn some grace last year by, winning a playoff game. And I mean, yes, Brian Kelly is elite. That's 100%. Like there's no debating that. Like Brent, Brian Kelly hasn't won a season opener yet at LSU. LSU hasn't won a season opener since 2019, since Joey was there. I believe that was at Texas, wasn't it? That was a great game.
That wasn't
it was awesome.
It wasn't the opener. I think that may have been week 2. I want to say
that was week 2.
But
okay.
Yes.
But like, it is a lot of pressure, obviously, with LSU and the transfer portal. Obviously, they were the number 1 class in the country. You got Garrett Nussmeier coming back as your quarterback, who's a stud. Like everything points to LSU. There's no way LSU should not be a top 10 team. Like they should be a top 10 team this year with the talent, with the returners, the additions of the transfer portal. Like they've got to put it together. This is a huge year for BK.
Okay, so next one is, we've already talked about this a little bit too. I think Miami will take a definitive step back and likely 2 or 3 steps back, because you've got Notre Dame week 1, South Florida in week 3 is no pushover, Florida week 4. So is there a world where you're 1-3 or 2? You're 2-2 going at FSU, who might be feeling better about themselves. They lost their top 6 guys in terms of targets. Their defense was already not great.
Bad.
Now they did a lot of transfer portal work, but and you lost the number 1 pick in the draft, who was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason, and you were already close. To me, in essence, saved your hind end in a couple games last year. So I think Miami takes a couple steps back. So that was the next one for me. I think I know that.
Are you buying Carson Beck?
I did see a video of him throwing today.
I don't
But
care
in
about
terms
your
of just
video. Are you
no,
buying
no,
Carson Beck being a all ACC performer?
no.
I think Carson. I think we underestimate Carson Beck and what he did. Like last year, he had no help at Georgia. He had none. Like it was led the nation in drop passes, no running game, and still found a way to win games and come up big in some big moments. I think Carson Beck's going to be just fine. Like I think Miami's still going to be able to score points. I think their defense can't get worse. So 1-3, I think it worse 2-2, but I still think they're looking at the same type of record that they had a year ago. Like they're still going to be in that same 9 wins. They won 10 last year, 10-win realm.
Okay. I will say one positive in your analysis there. The girlfriend's no longer a part of the equation. That's, I think, or at least not according to social media.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know about that crap, but I do know that dude balled out the year before last. And then last year had plenty of good moments considering the supporting cast wasn't the greatest at times for him. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. So the next one I had, the team that I am most intrigued to watch, I know this, is Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Just because I want to see if that works. And by the way, number 2 on that list is Chapel Bill. I want to watch North Carolina and see him as a college coach. But Texas Tech, to me, I know I'm going to watch them. I mean, the other games and the big games, you already know that. But in terms of just, I'm intrigued to see how this works, is Texas Tech.
Yeah, and they've made it very clear, man. They've pushed their chips into the transfer portal, and we had an awesome conversation with Coach McGuire, and he was really good, man. I mean, just really good about their plan and their GM and their boosters, and they've spent money. They've done a really good job, I feel like, identifying guys that were high-profile portal guys, bringing them in, and they were good last year. I mean, they were a pretty solid football team a year ago. So I'm very interested to watch them. I did give Coach McGuire the suggestion that I guarantee you we see next fall, Brent. Like I told him MJ's got the free throw line dunk, basically the hanging in the air symbol. And I was like, if y'all are going to use Adidas and Patrick Mahomes, it needs to be the sidearm sling. Yep. And looking forward to seeing if McGuire will implement that, because it absolutely should, because obviously he's famous for that, like Mahomes. But Texas Tech facilities, they spent gazillions. So it will be fun to watch, like the new school era, right? The new school model, the being ahead of the times, so to speak, kind of like maybe not ahead of the times, but all in on what the times are. And seeing if that comes to fruition this fall will be really good. And you're right, Chapel Bill will be fun. I mean, Brent, I don't think he lost the ability to coach football. Now, this girlfriend thing's getting a little bit out of control.
It's a different level.
It's so weird to see him do media now. And I know he did media last year when he was sitting out, but
he was talking football then.
It's still uncomfortable. It's still uncomfortable to watch, and I hope these kids can relate to him. But he's going to have to do what he did in in New England for a number of years. He did it with less. Like he didn't have a bunch of superstars. Now he had superstars early in his career, but once he got a little bit older, he was doing more with less because the roster wasn't that good. He was building it too. So I mean, that was partly his fault. But.
All right, so the last 3, I think you might actually disagree with, maybe have a little bit of disagreement with. So the first one is the quarterback wide receiver combo that I trust the most are on opposite ends of the country, sides of the country. And that's Arizona State with Leavitt and Tyson, and Clemson with Klubnik and Antonio Williams. All these other places, it's okay. I like the quarterback, but who are they going to throw to? Or I think I could throw to Jeremiah Smith and be okay.
I'm about to say anybody in Jeremiah Smith counts above everybody.
But it might be bad. You don't know. You got to see it. So in terms of known things, I know Antonio Williams and Cade Klubnik going to be a great combination. Leavitt and Jordan Tyson going to be a great combination for one. Brent, like one I'm intrigued to see is Indiana with Mendoza and Surratt, but I haven't seen it yet.
Mendoza's going to be great. He's going to be really good. If people think without Rourke they're going to take a big step back, they're not. Like they're going to be really good with that system. I'm a big fan of Mendoza. Disagree strongly. I like the premise, but I don't need to know. Brett, I've done this long enough to count on certain things. I 100% can count on Ohio State quarterback every era. It doesn't, like, whoever Ryan Day puts at quarterback next year and Jeremiah Smith will be lethal. Ryan Williams, like whoever ends up winning that job now with Grubb coming in as the OC, I think this offense looks totally different. It looks more like a Kalen DeBoer offense. I think Alabama's a top 5-6 team in college football going into the season, because I think that will completely change right there. And Ryan Williams becomes infinitely more dynamic, and there's not a better two talents at the spot than those two guys. I mean, those guys are so unbelievable. And I know I'll get great quarterback play in both of those spots. So I'm all about it.
So Travis and Joe, who are one's from Dayton, the other from Youngstown, are probably likely Buckeye fans and appreciating your commentary on that and disagreement with me.
What about my man Fight On from Jaden and Lane, or from South Carolina? What about Lenora Sellers and somebody? There's no connection there? Like,
I mean, I've seen too much from the others. No. Like Jordan Tyson coming back at Arizona State was huge. But anyway, all right, next one. I'm going to use your phrase. At least one and likely two SEC teams will be pissed off again about the playoff.
Yeah, I'll get with that for sure. Listen, you had South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama firmly in the mix that were all had a debate, all had a reason at least to say we can go back and forth. And I think that's fun. That's why the game's awesome. That's why I love it, man. I love debating at the end of the year between teams that should be in the playoff. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's a lot more fun when it's 13, 14, 15, 16 than it was when it was 3 and 4 sometimes, or then 5 and 6 sometimes. I think it makes our sport better. But there's a lot of teams that, I mean, we know 5 or 6 teams aren't going to make it, but everybody in the country is going to have at least 5 teams in the top 10 of the SEC. And that'll be our next guest next week, by the way. I think I love Josh Pate. I think he's a stud, and I love the way he delivers things, and it's just different. It's unique. Like his personality is unique, but like that dude loves college football, and he's all in when he's not chasing storms. And I think he came out with his top. I think he came out with his top 20 at least.
Yeah, 20.
And you saw the SEC's teams, and this is why I want to have him on next week too. He feels the same way I did about Georgia, and that's going to rub Georgia fans the wrong way, and it's going to make them feel some kind of way. But I completely agree. All
right. So the last one is, it might be, I don't know if it's hot takey, but it might be. I think I know a 3-loss team is making the playoff this year. I think there's going to be some parity in a lot of these places. And if the SEC team is the 12th team or something like that, it's a 3-loss team.
Okay, so you're not thinking like the Big 12 is going to beat each other up and somebody has to get in with 3 losses there?
Potentially that too. It might be that too. But I think there'll be a 3-loss team.
You said the Big 12 earlier. I figured that's where you were going. But I don't think times are changing this year, Brent. I think the trend of last year, more parity, I don't think that's going away. I think we're going to continue to see more and more upsets because we do have so much player movement, and recruiting has changed so much when it comes to accumulating talent, developing talent, keeping talent, like all those things, they're not going away. So yeah, I think it continues to move the other direction, and breaking that down, you'd really need to get in the weeds with teams and have some preseason convictions. But I think with the SEC and that league that we know is going to be strong, the Big Ten's always pretty strong. Like those guys are going to have the best chance, obviously, to be in that mix. And in the future, we won't have to worry about it as much because starting in the future next year, they'll have 4 automatic bids. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. So that was it. That was my 10 things I think I know about college football. Some of them we got some disagreement in there. That's good. Good conversation on that. Next thing though, last thing, finish up with this. Great tweet today. You had, what's the biggest what if coaching decision in the history of college football? Now, I will say, as someone who's in academia, this could go two ways. What's the way that you think of this?
Well, I think that's the beauty of the question because it is open-ended. But I'm thinking more like, what is the biggest what if moments? Like, what if the prayer at Jordan Hare doesn't happen? Like, I think those moments, or what if so-and-so doesn't get, like Cam Newton doesn't get kicked out of school at Florida and never goes to Auburn, like what if, I think what if Nick Saban never leaves LSU? Like,
okay, so that was
I
where
think it's
a
bunch of different ways.
So I think a lot of people took it as the coaching part, just because we'll get to, and I'm going to get to a lot of the responses. And
We got some good
I
ones.
think it also, some great ones. And also, though, I do think with the wording there, it could have been like, hey, why didn't they go for this on 4th down or something like that, like an actual in-game decision. But anyway, the first one, though, I want to highlight is Pigskin Petey, who said, what if ESPN was smart and kept David Pollack?
Pigskin Petey. Hey, appreciate that, Pigskin Petey. That a good shout out. I love it.
Yeah. So I think he says he does a podcast. So Syracuse. All right. So another one. We got Tim Tebow going to Bama instead of Florida.
Holy
so a
cow.
whole lot of other what ifs based on that.
And the thing about that is, yes, it would have been different because he beat Bama and he had so much success. But Tim would have never been maximized to what Tim could have done. Like, he would have never he would have never ran the football like he did. He would have been a game manager type of guy. That's what Alabama quarterbacks were. That's not an insult. Like, that's just what the way they ran their offense was run the football, control the clock. Their defenses were so elite. Like, Tim Tebow wouldn't have been a Heisman winner at Alabama.
Cam Newton stays at Florida. There's so many sort of what ifs with that.
So many things.
Both of those kill Auburn program. Somebody says in the chat. All right. What if Rich Rod had taken the Alabama job in 2006?
How does that make you feel?
I mean, he went to Michigan shortly thereafter anyway. So
you don't care. He's dead to you regardless.
No, he was on our podcast. He's great. He's back.
Brent's a diehard West Virginia fan, so he's a little salty. He wish he would have stayed in West by God, Virginia.
But yeah, because if he takes it, then does Nick Saban ever end up at Alabama? That's a big one. This is a really good one though. What if Bobby Bowden would have let Randy Moss play at Florida State?
Wow.
Because you've heard the stories, right, about him just absolutely torching dudes as a redshirt.
And it wasn't like decent players. Like, that was back in the day when Florida State had all the great players. Like,
yes,
it was a who's who of dudes. And Randy Moss, obviously, Randy's one of the best individual talents that God ever created. I mean, if you went position by position and you just talked about like a crafted mold of guys that were built and just elite of elite in their position, Randy is not far down that list. I mean, just could fly, absolutely fly. And the biggest thing that people didn't understand about Randy was this right up here, man. Absolutely
hyper intelligent,
super intelligent, football intelligence, smarts. Those go such a long way, man. That's why when he got on the same page with Brady and he got with that QB, it was like nuclear and went off to like a 35,000, foot altitude. It was crazy.
All right, got three more. One really old school.
We got to give people shots out on their names too. Don't forget their names, Brent.
Yes, my bad. Lance Dudley. Bear Bryant stays at Kentucky.
Wow. I mean, Bear Bryant was the greatest coach ever until Nick Saban probably took that and took the mantle at the same school. And the reason you could do it is because the fans are so phenomenal. The support is unbelievable. That's a big one, man. That is a big one. But that's in the same elk as if Nick stayed at LSU, because if he stayed at LSU,
somebody mentioned that too. I saw that one mentioned a couple of times too.
Yeah, hate is love. I think at presidential 2U said it, but couldn't agree more with that. Like I saw one, and I wish I could go back and see where it was, but and a lot of people don't know this, but Auburn and South Carolina both had huge opportunities to hire Kirby Smart. And they could have put the nail in the coffin if they would have given him control. Like if they would have just let him, I control the player development. I get to run that side of it. You don't get to do it. And if that would have happened, I mean, what he would have been able to do if at those programs, especially Auburn, obviously, because it was right out the gates, but he would have built South Carolina too, just with his maniacal approach and effort and leadership. And then, now listen, does he return to Georgia at some point anyways, because it's his alma mater? Maybe. But the fact that, and I actually saw a good quote the other day. Somebody went back and revisited what everybody was saying about Kirby when they got hired. Yes. And it was like unbelievably bad. Like this is who you go get. This is who you fire Coach Rick for, as a unproven head coach that's done nothing. Like good luck when there was X, Y, and Z out there. And I think it worked out all right.
Yeah. So speaking, the next one I was going to read. So from Justin Ramirez at UGA_Ramirez. What if Coach Rick had won the 2012 SEC championship game? And then because they would have beaten Notre Dame and won the national championship.
So what if Conley doesn't catch the ball and then Aaron Murray connects to somebody else?
Makes a play on the next one. Yeah.
I remember being there on the sidelines and I was just like.
Spiked it. All that.
Well, and also, like Conley didn't do the wrong thing. Like you don't have time.
He's just reacting in the moment.
Yeah, you don't have time with a tip pass to calculate and do. The ball's coming towards you. Your job is to catch it. But yeah, that was a big moment. And the cool thing about this, Brent, is there's so many people that have lived and died with their teams over the years that they say, what if? Like, what if that one moment came true? We'd be holding a trophy. It would have changed the whole direction of our program. And that's what makes college sports so great, man. Like, because you're always following your squad and you're always cheering for them. And there's always that moment where you're like, if it just did this, if the weird shaped football would have just bounced our way. And I think Georgia fans, I didn't look at it. I can't believe Georgia fans didn't say, like, if they weren't called offsides on the punt block, that wasn't a penalty.
Tyler Simmons was onside.
Yeah, like there's another moment I can think of in my head. Like, I thought, what if Tua got sacked on 2nd and 26 instead of delivering a strike, right? Like for a touchdown and shutting the place down. So those moments are etched and ingrained, and that's what makes this sport so awesome, man. It's what makes it the best.
Last one, Tennessee Suave. What if Lane Kiffin had stayed at Tennessee? Thing is, I don't know if he becomes as good of a coach as he has evolved into potentially, because that was just still youth Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I think he still needed to get he still needed to figure things out, and Lane's matured so much as a human being, which is fun. It's been fun to watch him and follow him, because you don't know what you don't know in the experience. But I'll never forget. Remember that? What if Mount Cody doesn't block the field goal? 12-10.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
That was 12-10, I believe, the final score, and Lane had a chance to beat Alabama and get that place going rocking. That could have been an unbelievable surge that would have moved them maybe in a totally different direction, and Tennessee could have been totally different.
Who was the quarterback of that team? I remember it was his first name Jonathan, and I remember what he looks like. Crompton.
Yeah,
I think that's it, right? Something like that. Yeah. All right.
That's I like Sean Walker. I like Sean Walker in the chat. I don't like to play that game because it gives me a headache and heartburn. And every fan, Sean, in college football can absolutely relate to that. Like, there is a moment that you lost your ever loving mind. Like
2007,
dude.
There's Virginia.
And 2007. That was Pat missing a field goal
and just them freezing basically and completely. They were 17-point favorites in the game and lost,
and against their rival,
and a rivalry game.
But that's and you remember. I guarantee you, everybody out there remembers their reaction and probably is not proud of it. Like, of how I responded to how bad that was.
Yes.
It's why this sport is the greatest. It's why it's better than the NFL. It's why it's better than basketball. Despite some of our challenges we're dealing with NIL and the transfer portal and some of that stuff that changes it, it's still the sport of what ifs. And so next week,
man. By the way, just because I know you care, the Celtics are up 20 with 8 minutes to go in the fourth.
I don't care. That series is over. It doesn't matter. Listen, the
It's
Knicks
easy.
are due for a let up, but also it's also, by the way, that's okay. That's where they want them because the Knicks had that in game 1 and 2 and came roaring back. And I love the next title, by the way, Brent, on the tab
Yes.
right there. It says "Hit subscribe, suckers." So if you like the show, man, hit subscribe and whatever that other stuff is you do, like, comment, rate, whatever that is.
Yes.
And Monday, I think we'll get our boy Pate State on and go through his top 20 because I know another thing about Josh too is he goes he talks to people that are at those schools and picks their brains, and then he researches, and so he'll have some good nuggets about what to cheer for on your team, what you're looking for, and a reason to have you ranked in the top 20 or not. So we'll have a good discussion, and we will see you guys next week here on See Ball Get Ball.